Thank you, Lions Club of Keys. We requested their bell. Pretty effective. I'm Steve Jones. I'm the Antioch University New England president. I wanted to give you now Dr. Jim Fouth, core faculty within the clinical psychology program, to introduce our 2015 Horace Mann Citizens Award recipient. Jim.
Thank you, Steve. So among many other notable achievements, Yvonne Goldsberry, our Horace Mann Citizens Award recipient, is probably best known in our region as the architect of Healthy Monadnock. She also happens to be a real numbers geek, so I'm going to begin my introduction tonight with a pseudo-scientific poll. Yvonne, I'm betting some of these questions are going to be a little familiar to you. Okay, first question. This is a show of hands, poll, okay? How many of you, before I just mentioned it, have ever heard of Healthy Monadnock, formerly known as Vision 2020, the ongoing initiative to make the Monadnock region the healthiest in the country? How many people? I'm going to gauge that at 97.5. I think we got it. So, all right, 97.5. Second question. This is a multi-part question. Follow me. Raise your hand if any of the following are true. This is hard, but fortunately I'm the first speaker. How many of you are Healthy Monadnock champions, work in an organization that's a champion, have a child that attends a Healthy Monadnock school champion, or have otherwise participated, engaged in, or been touched by Healthy Monadnock in some way? How many? All right, I would say we're at 48%. 48%. So you are not alone. Here are some of our latest estimates of the reach of Healthy Monadnock in our region. Over 3,000 Monadnock region citizens have signed up as individual Healthy Monadnock champions, pledging to live, model, and inspire a healthy lifestyle in others. Over 120 organizational champions have pledged to make our workplaces healthier environments, affecting the lives of thousands more. And 20 school champions have committed to giving our youngest lives as healthy a start as possible. So what's particularly amazing about the recognition and awareness about Healthy Monadnock is that much of the work of the initiative is actually designed to be invisible, most of the time to most of us. The primary thrust is to make the environments in which we work and play healthier, such that the healthiest choice becomes what's the default or the easiest choice. There's also efforts underway to design healthier policies and environments in over 40 workplaces in the next 3 years, create safe routes to school to provide safe passage and encouragement for our kids to walk and bike to school safely, establish smoke-free housing and multifamily apartment units for our most underserved citizens, label menus throughout the region to make the healthy choice more available and more visible wherever we decide to eat, design our streets, sidewalks, and built environments to promote walking, biking, and positive social connections, get healthy local food from farm to table in all of our institutions, and to support living wages and improve the social determinants of health for those in our region who need it most. Even though Healthy Monadnock is just beginning to unfold, it's already gained national recognition and investments from institutions such as the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and the Centers for Disease Control. So how did this all come about, and more importantly for our purposes tonight, how did it land in Yvonne's capable and caring hands? So I have to confess, I wasn't there, so I'm largely going to make the next part up. But I've always pictured something like Cheshire Medical Center leaders, and perhaps other community leaders as well, contending with the realization that changes in healthcare alone would never lead to the dramatic improvements in community-level health that they most wish for our community. To have that kind of impact, they would need to extend their work beyond the bounds of the hospital and clinic to create and promote a community culture of health. Given that our region and New Hampshire as a whole is already relatively healthy, they probably figured they needed a particularly audacious goal to become the healthiest in the nation by the year 2020. I'm sure that the realization that within their midst was a person with the background, training, intellect, and temperament to actually pull such a thing off was comforting as they publicly committed to this audacious goal. What is it about Yvonne that allowed her to willingly and successfully take on the challenge of Healthy Monadnock? First, values that are consistent with those of Horace Mann and Antioch University, New England. A strong sense of social justice, honed through training and experience as a community organizer in underserved settings. The ability to translate theory and research into practice, with the creativity and confidence to improvise the rest. A deep and abiding respect and love of her community and all its inhabitants. Second, an endearingly self-effacing and warm demeanor with impish good humor and plenty of resolve and toughness and ready reserve. Undoubtedly, a good deal of Yvonne's appeal and success is that she's so understated and easy and fun to be around. She's sweet and authentic and genuinely interested in the well-being of those around her. A big, antic brain, focused mind, honed through progressive, multidisciplinary education. Yvonne holds a Bachelor of Arts in Biology from Brown, a Master of Public Health and a Master of Science in Urban Planning from Columbia, and a PhD in Public Policy from George Washington University. Quite a potent combination. I'm even told by her partner, Dr. Sherry Holmes, that her master's thesis clearly foreshadowed the eventual architecture and unfolding of Healthy Monadnock years later. One of Yvonne's most salient characteristics is her ability to immediately grasp pretty much any concept and quickly find its place in the larger context and big picture. She seems to carry in her mind a master plan or a chessboard, which she plays 5 or 6 steps ahead of the rest of us. A deep and sophisticated perspective and skill set honed through work at every level of community health and healthcare. She's worked as a community organizer, an entrepreneurial health consultant, a public health policymaker. She held leadership positions at Home Healthcare Hospice and Community Services in Keene, at the Washington Business Group on Health, and at George Washington University's Center for Health Policy Research. While at New Hampshire's Department of Health and Human Services, she developed the New Hampshire Public Health Network and contracted for an $11 million federal emergency preparedness initiative. A service leadership style and subtle forms of mentorship that call out the best in those around her. As with the very best of leaders, Yvonne shoulders the blame and deflects credit to those around her. Those who have worked with her point to her interest in their overall professional development, not just what they can do for her or for their project. Personally, I can clearly recall the day when it hit me that one of her main goals in working with me as an evaluator was to help set me and the center I direct at Antioch up for success beyond our work for Healthy Monadnock. And I was not even a part of her organization. And finally, a clear appreciation that she stands on the shoulders of a remarkable family and in the embrace of her loving and supportive parents and partner. The civic accomplishments of Yvonne's family dates back generations to a time when African Americans were rarely afforded true pathways to success, let alone to become revered and honored in their home community, as were hers. The high expectations, work ethic, and support that she's internalized from her very accomplished parents, Dottie and John Goldsberry, undoubtedly set the stage for the person and professional we know and admire today. The passion, interest, and admiration of her partner, Dr. Sherry Holmes, herself a leader at Cheshire Medical Center and a physician, was palpable in our conversation leading up to tonight's ceremony. My guess is that Yvonne could not ask for a better sounding board or a more engaged support than Sherry. Having set Healthy Monadnock and Cheshire Medical Center up for success, Yvonne recently moved on to New Hampshire's Endowment for Health, initially as vice president, and then within a few short months to president. There she will be able to leverage all of her professional wisdom across the population of the entire state. The Endowment for Health has found an exceptional leader in their work on child growth and development, children's behavioral health, health disparities, elders' health, and health policy across the state. I cannot imagine anyone more deserving of the Horace Mann Citizens Award than Yvonne. I'm proud to have worked with you and to call you a colleague and friend. I look forward to your future accomplishments at the Endowment for Health. Please join me in thanking Yvonne for her amazing work on our behalf and on behalf of our region and the state.
That was totally unrehearsed, Yvonne. The microphone is yours. Congratulations.
So thank you, Jim, for those kind words. And it's been such an honor and a privilege to work with Jim. And I have to say George as well. And you know, they're a team, right? So you never say Jim without George. It's like Jim and George. And even in my new job, where I have the just awesome pleasure of continuing to work with them, it's still Jim and George. But behind the scenes, what actually happens is Jim is sort of the master thought organizer, right? He makes these logic models that are huge, and you know, you look at it on the first brush and you think, oh, wow. How are we ever going to do that, Jim? And then George comes along and somehow he figures out how the data really will match with all those boxes on the chart. And I'm the one that just gets to say, yeah, do that. Do that. Let's do that. But we actually been working on some very serious complex change initiatives together and developing new tools for them that someday are going to be really incredible, and they, Jim and George, are going to be really famous. So I'm really psyched to hang around with them. But also tonight's a great night for me to rekindle my friendships with all my friends from Cheshire Med, all of you out there, hello. And to welcome to Keene my new colleagues from the Endowment for Health, and I see you guys over there. And in my new job, I have a lot of remarks that I have to make, and the Director of Communications, Karen Ager, is over there, and I laugh about the fact that I never have a real script, and when I do, I never use it, so I'm trying to use it tonight. Because tonight I actually had a chance to look up this guy, Horace Mann, and we actually have some things in common, he and I. So I was sort of like, wow, exactly. So first and the most important, as Jim mentioned, we're both graduates of Brown University, so if anybody else is out there, give him Bruno. But you probably also know that before Horace Mann was president of Antioch, he was a legislator and Secretary of Education in the state of Massachusetts. And in addition to being the first person to really bring forward public education, he established the State Lunatic Asylum at Worcester. So the State Lunatic Asylum at Worcester actually became Worcester State Hospital. And that's where my mom, who's sitting over there, did her psychiatry residency. Pretty cool. So, more importantly though, we really do share our thoughts on education as a critical part of creating social change. And we share a value that all children deserve a fresh start and an equal start. And it shouldn't depend on how wealthy you are, or the neighborhood you live in, or your immigration status, or your race or ethnicity. So we share that. And when I was doing some reading on Horace Mann, I thought about him and I thought, wow, well, if he came back today, what would he think? And he'd probably be really happy that we still have publicly sponsored education. But I think he'd be very, very disappointed that it's underfunded and not fully supported, and not every kid has a fair and equal chance. And he'd be really excited that slavery ended, right? Because that was a big thing for him. But he would be really puzzled by the sustained, intractable inequities that still exist. Inequities that result in people in the 9th Ward in New Orleans still having to take 3 buses to get groceries. Or that only 18% of Hispanic children in our state can read at grade level, only 18%. Or that here in Cheshire County, we actually debated whether or not we should rehab Maplewood Nursing Home. Like, we're debating that. He would say, what is happening? Or that new American immigrants, particularly in New Hampshire, have a really difficult time making a new beginning. So I think he would be happy, but very puzzled. But I also think Horace Mann would be exceedingly pleased with Antioch and how Antioch has come along. And the fact that you enjoy this mission and that you live the mission. And the fact that you're critical in creating new educational programs for the future, and you're forward thinking and always looking at what do we need to do next, how do we create the workforce of the future. And he'd be really proud of Antioch, New England, particularly for how you partner with the community. So as Jim said, Antioch is a Healthy Monadnock champion, so you're helping to live, share, model, and inspire good health. And standing out there in front of that has been really important to the Healthy Monadnock Initiative. But in addition to that, your psychological services fill a really acute, critical need right now in the fragile end. We're in this mental health crisis, and you're really filling an edge there. He'd also be really proud of a guy called Jack Calhoun, who's out there somewhere, who, with all the other stuff Jack does, he still participated in the Council for a Healthier Community. And he'd be really excited with how Libby McCann is bringing healthy gardens to neighborhoods in Keene for low-income people, and that she's a big backer of the local Advocates for a Healthy Community. And he'd be super, super psyched with my friends Jim and George, because not only are they doing stuff in Cheshire County, but they've been very, very active with the New Hampshire Children's Mental Health Collaborative, creating new ways to evaluate integrative psychological services. So those big logic models, we're actually really using them, so it's kind of and he'd also be really happy about all the other faculty and students that do the work in the community to live, share, model, inspire health, and honor the vision of social justice, equity, a great economy, and a good environment. So we in the Monadnock region are really, really fortunate to have Antioch, New England call the Monadnock region home, and we're happy to have you call the state of New Hampshire home. So I really look forward to continuing to work with you as we face some of the most difficult, challenging problems that are ahead of us. All of the things I mentioned before, intractable inequity, all of these things that are very difficult in our nation right now. Because together, I know we really will win victories for humanity. Thank you so much.
My role is real simple. I now give you Mr. Lou Feldstein, former AUNE president, to introduce the 2015 Horace Mann Faculty Staff Award recipient. Lou.
nice when you retire, you don't have to wear a jacket anymore. You didn't put on long pants and socks. Well, it was formal. So, thank you, Steve and Charlie, for this chance to span this platform. This is where I first put my feet down in New Hampshire some 40 plus years ago. It marked me ever since. Despite that, I've had a good 40 years in New Hampshire. I'm also honored to share this evening with Yvonne and with Bo, who actually was a summer, he and my son worked for a year together in Village. Some of you know Village? Village? People know Village? Okay. Village alums. But most of all, I want to start by wishing you all a Happy New Year. And you know, good. There's places in New Hampshire people don't know, and they say, what? But this is the, this past Sunday night and Monday was the beginning of the Jewish New Year. For those of you counting, 5,776. And if you're wondering where I'm going with this, it should be obvious, but many of you may not know that Ed told me is Jewish. Actually, he's not quite Jewish, but he's Lebanese. That's true. So, he's the kid from the hood, you know, we know each other. It was one of the many things we got to know about each other over the many years, 40 years that we worked together. 40 years. It goes back to Dublin. This Dublin, not the other Dublin, where Ed and I did a workshop together in 40 something years ago, 41?
39 this year.
Okay, good. But the reason I start with the New Year is because I want to say that the Jewish New Year is all about blessings. And boy, did I get lucky this year. I just hit it right. I got a great gift. The great gift was I spent several weeks before the New Year and this following week, right after the New Year, wandering around talking to dozens of people who work with Ed Tomey. I mean, it was incredible. It's a great blessing and a gift of love to have a reason to go and schmooze with people you haven't seen for a while, people you don't know, people you admire greatly, as Julie and many others, and ask them about someone you love. You know, the blessing on this is that we don't often get a chance to talk in detail and focus and look closely at many of our closest friends. We know the work they do, and you know about them, but you rarely get to see them up close day after day and really, in a disciplined, focused, thoughtful way, understand why they do what they do and why they do it so well. Yeah, we see little bits of them, we hear them tell their stories, other people tell stories about them, but that's kind of sloppy, it's unfocused, it's undisciplined. So the chance to actually go and get the dirt on a buddy and push hard and say, tell me more, is an extraordinary license. And I loved it. And so there is no substitute for being able to talk directly with those who've worked with Ed or with other friends. Let me just ask, sample this room. How many of you here have actually worked with Ed Tomey as a student, as a fellow faculty member, where he consulted to your organization, as a fellow board member, as a kibitzer who offered you advice, someone you came to see? How many have actually, oh my God, stand up. Everybody put their hand up, stand up. Oh my God, I'm done. Wait, don't sit down, don't sit down. I want to ask, quickly, 1 or 2 words, quick comments. Alan, on Ed. Say it. Charlie?
Wonderful.
Julie?
Wise, humane.
Jack?
Creative.
Bo?
Inspiration.
Mary?
Friendly.
Jim?
Smooth.
Yvonne?
Equitable.
Okay, I hate to go on and on. I apologize to those of you in the back. That's the benefits of paying for the front seat. But you know, the reason I do this is because there's nothing I'm going to say that could somewhat the dozens of you, more than the majority of this room would say about what Ed means. And what Ed means not just to you individually, but what Ed says about what Antioch means to his community. Because he's doing this because of his connection. That's how he's here. And he represents, thank you, so many of the others of you who who also bring things to this community and change this community. And I'll bet if there was a way to measure the punching weight, here's the new piece of data, Jim. Measure the punching weight for Keene and for Antioch. How would you measure the impact that this funny little group of oddballs, many of us seen as deviants originally and still are, how do you, don't be embarrassed, how do we account for what Antioch does to this community? Ed Toney embodies that. This man, warp and woof, has given his life to shape our lives and the lives of people in this community. He's gone deep, he's reached widely, he's touched us as individuals and as organizations. He's given us counsel, wisdom, savvy, grace. I talked to dozens of people who've worked with Ed. At a certain point, it was redundant. I wasn't learning anything new. I'd heard it all, but I went on because it was so affirming to find the depth of that and to see it again and again. And I just couldn't put the damn phone down. I had to talk to more people to ask about Ed. I was so fascinated by the depth of Ed's impact on the people he's worked with, by the consistency of the feedback, by just how much he meant to people. And of course, as you can hear in my voice, as I said this, by how much he meant to me. Hearing people talk about it, it hits you. So, how much and how blessed we are to know Ed. By how genuine, how deep, how profound, how wise, how steady, how unselfish, how nuanced, how honest, how trusted, the integrity, the durability, the grace, the honesty, the clarity, the decency, the wisdom, the savvy. This funny little odd man. But he can't have everything. But imagine the grace to touch us and to touch so many people on how he's done, who just by luck and grace, we came down where he was, and he helped change our lives and change this community. We get to call him neighbor and friend. I can tell you, I do lots of checkouts. I'm constantly in the business of hiring people and assessing people. I have almost never in my life come upon something like I described to you in the range of people who said these things about Ed. So now Ed is talking about cutting back. Bull-tiggy. It's an academic term. The likelihood that Ed could stop giving people counsel and advice when they needed, helping out when he's asked. The likelihood that even if he did, the rest of us would suddenly hold back and respect that. No way. We're going to Ed if we want something. And I don't think there's a chance he's going to hold back. Meesh, what do you think? What? You think he's going to stop?
No, absolutely.
Absolutely not. So there's no way he can stop. So what I'd like to do, I'd like to end this in a particular way. I would like everyone to stand, please. Hey, come here, please. Thank you. Okay?
I have my helpers.
Where is helpers? Okay.
Please grab one and pass it along.
We're going to read together a wonderful poem for and about, it's one of Ed's favorite poems. You probably can check and see if we got the word for it. So, okay? All right. We're going to start, and as you get it, you can come up. Ed, what's the name? You didn't know I do it. What's the name?
What?
And we made a few changes to make it a little briefer, but we're going to start. And microphone, okay, now you come. I can start over again. Okay, Mr. Intelligence, we're doing it right. This is To Be of Use. The poet is Marge Kiersey, and here we go. The people I love the best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes, almost
Bless you.
That's it?
Funny, I don't look Jewish. But I'm feeling it. Especially since my son got married 2 weeks ago to a lovely Jewish woman from Miami. And we feel like our culture, our family is changing in such wonderful ways. I don't know how to respond to this. I jotted down some notes while Jim was talking about Yvonne, and while Yvonne was talking, when you started talking, I said, I can't write these words down about me, so I'll pick them up from you later. It's pretty amazing and honoring to be a member of the class of 2015 of the Horace Mann Award, to be with Yvonne Goldsberry and Bo Hoppen, and to know how much each of your families, both of you, as well as H and me, work hard to help create community and make it healthy and take people beyond themselves, the work that you and Jessica do to have kids think about other than themselves in an age when they would be focused on themselves, but you help them take them way beyond that, and the work you have done that Jim so beautifully described. So that feels like enough of an honoring, but to have you say what you said, Lou, my friend of 40 years almost, thank you for bringing me to New Hampshire. It was kind of a funny story. I was up here for this conference at the Dublin School, and it was a model of organizational change that someone wanted to try out an American organization because they've done it with various other kinds of organizations in other countries. And so they were working with this little graduate school called Antioch, New England, in Keene, New Hampshire, that I had never heard of. And in that year, the summer of 1976, Lou and I wound up being a dyad at Tucson, doing a lot of the small group work. We got to know each other quite well. At the end of the week, he offered me a job because he was a candidate to be the head of the school. And he wanted someone to start to groom to replace him in his job as head of the organization and management program. I said, no, I had a teaching appointment already down in Cambridge, and I had just started this relationship with this woman named H, and we didn't know where it was going to go, and if I moved too far away, what would happen? Well, I got home after the end of that week. Oh, by the way, during that week, I discovered a log cabin out in West Swansea in the middle of the woods that I fell in love with. And H was a little skittish about my thinking about moving away anyway, because I was thinking about maybe I'd buy that and just work in Boston in the weekdays and come here on the weekends. But she came up and looked at it and said, it's you. Looks like you, feels like you. You know, this is the mid-70s, a guy thing, you know. But I had told Lou no, but when I got home, my landlady, who was the banking commissioner from Massachusetts, had a note under my door that said she'd been successful in getting my apartment out from under rent control. And I read it said she was going to double in September. Well, I hadn't seen Sleepless in Seattle yet, but I knew it was a sign. I called Lou the next week and said, I'm going to think about it. And then we agreed that it would happen. And I finished this anecdote off. I loaded all my stuff from my Cambridge apartment onto a U-Haul truck, and I didn't have a car. The only thing I had was a motorcycle. So I loaded that on last, facing out. And I got to my driveway in West Swansea about 20 minutes before class was going to begin. And so I did this wonderful James Bond thing of opening up the door, jumping on a motorcycle, putting the ramp down, and scooting down the ramp and out onto the highway. Got to my class. I carried my class materials in a book bag. I had my motorcycle helmet and my leather jacket carrying with me. I walked into the class. Jim Crago, are you here tonight? He's over here. Jim was a member of that class. He was a student at Antioch. And it was on the 17-person hiring committee to hire me to teach this one course. The question I remember most was, what makes you think we should hire you to teach us? I know one of the first words I thought of began with F, but I don't know. I said, what have I gotten myself into here? But I said yes, they said yes, and it was the beginning of a great relationship with you and me, and then later Jim with you and me. So at the time we went back and forth between Cambridge and Boston, between Cambridge and Keene and West Swansea, and eventually in 1980 Mach moved up. We had our child, we had our other 3 children that Mach brought into our marriage with us, and so we settled in, and I thought this was great. I can just continue what I'm doing, so I'm flying all over the country with my consulting practice. I'm teaching down in Boston for 2 days, I'm teaching in Antioch one day, and life is busy, and life is full, and life is good. And then one day, I got a call from one of my New York clients, and they said, we need you down here on Monday. And I said to Mach, I just got a call, I need to be in New York on Monday, and then, not undefensively, I said, but it's only one night. I'll be back on Tuesday. And Mach, in her wonderfully assertive way that she's taught me over the years, said, it's one night for you, it's 3 nights for us. And then I quite undefensively said, what do you mean? It's a mid-70s guy thing again. And she said, you'll be very busy the night before preparing for your client. We won't be able to disturb you. You'll be packing up your clothes and your materials. You'll go down, you'll spend the day with your client, you'll spend your night in New York. You'll come back the next day, the flight arrives in late afternoon. You'll be tired, your inbox will be full. I have a machine-operated answering machine. It took 16 batteries, twice a week. And that would be full, and she said, and we won't be able to interrupt you again. And so it'll be Sunday night, Monday night, and Tuesday night for me and the kids. And I got undefensive for a moment, and it changed my life about what being a partner in a marriage was truly about. And it wasn't just about my plans that everybody else ought to fit around them. And it began to change how I did my practice. So the next day I took our daughter's compass and I drew a circle around Keene that went out about 150 miles or 2 to 3 hours drive. And I said, no more airplanes. And if I can drive it in this distance with this compass, I will consider taking the consulting job. If I can't, I won't do it, but I'm going to be home each night, even if I have to, leave before the event is over. I'll go back again the next day. So that changed my life and brought me closer and closer. I stopped working for most corporations and worked mostly for nonprofits after that. And that brought me into the work that you honored me for, of people in this room who've been students or clients, community colleagues, co-consultants, co-faculty, friends, people who care about this community, and we do things on a volunteer basis. But it all mostly got focused on Vermont, New Hampshire, Southern Maine, and then mostly just New Hampshire. And I like to think that I left behind, each time I did one of these jobs, something that had the board and the senior staff of those organizations be thinking about What is it we really want to do with our organization? What direction do we want to take it in? How will we make it happen? What leadership strengths do we need to make it happen? What other resources do we need to make it happen? How can we keep it sustained so it doesn't fade off when the report gets dusty on the shelf? And I like to think I love that kind of thing. How does it fit in with the values that we hold and with the mission that we see ourselves having? And helping the people that we're here to help, and helping the communities that we're here to help. How do we make that work? And I like to think I got them thinking about that differently than they ever did before. As far as working with students and with the leaders of these organizations, I like to think that I helped them see the strengths they had, what they needed to work on, how could they turn themselves into an instrument of change and inspiration and sustainability, and to keep thinking of themselves as people who need to make things happen for the public good. And Mr. Mann, I don't know if I'm worthy of the statement that I will die having done something for humanity. But I want to think that I helped a lot of other people do that. And if I can go to my grave feeling that I was successful in helping other people do something for humanity and that they would not die ashamed, I feel like maybe I do deserve some of those words anyway. So thank you so much for this. But I won't sit down, I refuse to sit down until I say that so much of what I've learned, not just that one conversation you had with me maybe the night I was going to go to New York, but the helping me think through what I value, what I needed to do, how I led myself in our life and how I contributed to our life and our children's lives and your work life, and how we decided this was a partnership in which no one of us was more important than the other. That's been such major learning for me over our 40 years together. And I love you for that, and thank you.
It always worries me when a speaker says one more thing. And finally, and a bit more complicated, I give you three gentlemen to introduce our 2015 Horace Mann Alumni Award recipient. Mr. Paul Baca, Mr. Jack Calhoun, and Dr. Michael Duffin.
So I'm Michael, this is Paul, this is Jack, and the three of us worked alongside Bo at Antioch, New England Antioch, New England Institute, also known as ANEI. And at one point, all four of our desks were artfully crammed into one small office, affectionately known as the locker room. So we're just going to share a couple of vignettes that we've experienced or we've seen or we've heard about that really begin to suggest why Bo is so deserving of this award. We dropped the line about your dirty shoes, by the way. Persistence. So I don't know anybody who is better than Bo at coming in with a positive attitude and enthusiastic affect into a meeting or a conversation that is just racked with ambiguity and craziness. Bo, especially when he's in the facilitator role, he just has this gift of being able to guide a group to the next level of shared understanding, the next baby step that actually can be accomplished in that moment. And he does it with a smile, and everybody comes out of there feeling like, wow, we actually did something. So here's something from an email that Bo sent to me about 100 years ago. He says, I have found that if I want to get anything done with these schools, I have to go there and stand there and look people in the eye and say, I need this. And some days it works, other days I spin my wheels, and that is just the nature of the work. In fact, I know that is the only way to get the work done.
Listening. Bo is always ready to listen, not just hear, and to link pieces of information to reveal the ideas of others. He wants your ideas grounded in experience. His responses are generative, such as, I love that idea. It is good for kids and here's why. Let's build on that idea by, or here is where I see your suggestion working.
So sorry to all you academics out there, but Bo has a commitment to practice. So I remember very clearly Cindy Tomashow and Bo were leading a field study trip down to the Chesapeake Bay, and I was along helping out. And we're on the drive down there. I'm talking about going into the doctoral program, and Bo turns to me and he says, Michael, I need you to do me a favor. He says, if I ever sign up for a PhD program, you have to shoot me in the head right now.
So this one comes from David Sobel, who I know is disappointed for not being here tonight, but he wanted to make sure that it was said that Bo comes to every meeting with one standard standing agenda item, no matter what, and it's student voice. Anyone who works with him will get that very, very soon. He promotes students as equitable partners in conferences, as members of committees commonly dominated by adults, not for long when he's around, and as featured presenters at public events revealing their take on learning and active citizenship.
Not just a teacher. While he was a student at Antioch, Bo worked with Terry Watkins, now a retired Keene Middle School science teacher. Terry recalled him as extremely sincere and to the point. All my students benefited from his presence in the classroom, Terry said. Bo truly enjoyed and respected their feelings and thoughts. He wanted their input. He was just a natural with kids, and I really enjoyed working with him. He wasn't just a teacher. Bo had another dimension.
Follow through. Picture this. Bo and I are in a beat-up, borrowed pickup truck full of logs, rocks, freshly dug up asters, and other organic materials spilling out the sides. Student habitat designers, middle school students, Terry students, requested these exact items. And there was no going around. We were getting those exact items. We crisscrossed the Monadnock region gathering that truckload of material. Bo taught me the power that results from seeing something through for kids. Apparently, law enforcement and personnel are on the lookout for nefarious characters, such as he and I, with an odd collection of stuff, legal dumping, that kind of thing. But probably because of his smooth talking, we were able to explain ourselves and be on our way.
Thoughtful and generous. A colleague of Bo's recalled when he was working through a divorce, worried about losing the house and struggling financially. One day after a particularly trying period, an envelope appeared on the colleague's desk with a substantial sum of cash and a note simply saying, "Pay me back when you can." With little fanfare, Bo helped him turn the corner. It's a really compassionate person who quietly steps up to help a fellow traveler.
Understanding. In another challenging relationship situation, Bo volunteers, and he steps up as a kind of interim mentor and support for two young boys of some acquaintances of his who were also going through a divorce. So Bo takes them camping, they go hiking in the Whites, they go whitewater kayaking, and basically Bo just provides a place for them to listen and be heard. And so when we think about those kids now, I'm sure that they have a different understanding of things like what it means to be family, what it means to commitment, or what it means to really care for other people.
Like I said, it's me. Gratitude. Upon one of our most energetic and effective interns leaving our work with schools and graduating from Antioch. She's in the crowd tonight, so you can ask around. Bo didn't just give her a card, take her out for a bite. He orchestrated a canoe trip on Lake Nubanuset, beautiful Lake Nubanuset. The intern sat in the middle, did no paddling, and was treated to a salmon dinner cook, pardon me. Very talented fish. A salmon dinner cooked on an open fire on the lake's rocky shore. Sorry, Christy.
Passion. There was a meeting that all three of us recalled when we got together to kind of sketch out this little charade that we're doing up here. And each of us remembered it quite vividly. And it was a time when a relatively new member of the ANEI team observed that Bo seemed to be a little wrought up over nothing. The next sound we heard was Bo slamming his hand on the table and shouting for everyone in the room to hear, "Damn it, I'm trying to change the world!"
So statistics. Bo used numbers well. And so here's a couple of numbers that are associated with Bo. Well over 1 million. The imagination, I can feel it. But that's the number of dollars that he helped raise for the Co-Seed and other projects at Antioch Union Institute. 2, which is the number of historic buildings from West Street in Keene that he played a lead role in saving by having them moved over to Ashwaylet River Park. And so this was not part of his job description. Why did he do it? It needed to be done. And so he just stepped up and did it. At least 3. The number of times Bo resigned from ANEI on principle alone.
Good stuff. Christy, Bo's intern, was working in the office. Oh, this one's called relationships, pardon me. Bo was teaching in another part of the 48 on Street building. Christy gets a call that Bo's house that he rents is on fire. Bo rushes away from his class, but he's not alone. He's followed by Christy and a number of colleagues and friends. That crew forms a bucket brigade, not to put out the fire, but to quickly get Bo's belongings. Some of them, photography equipment inherited from his father, out. Years later, Christy shares that Bo is very purposeful in building relationships. He knows that if he puts the work into a collaborative relationship, it will grow. It will grow into something and come back to him in the end. On that note, we had such a good time doing this, by the way. Selfishly, I have to. Thank you for all you have contributed to your friends, to Antioch, and especially the kids and colleagues you serve in your work to change the world. Damn it!
egos too.
So people that know me well know I can't hold that bowl if I drop it.
Don't be afraid.
Wow.
That was quite an introduction. I'm afraid what I've prepared for remarks doesn't live up to that. First, Stephen, thank you for this honor. I've heard amazing things about your leadership from all over the place, and it's always the same thing. And I think it's exciting to know that Antioch has a leader to carry it to the next level of great work. And Yvonne and Ed, thank you for sharing this night with me. I'm not sure that I can live up to the standard of this company and the past award recipients, but I'll try my best. I was worried when my wife Jess over there pointed out to me the three presenters. I was like, oh my gosh, here comes some bizarre skit about our time together in the locker room, my messy desk, my smelly feet. It was only years later I found out that the reason the locker room smelled was because of me. But at that time we thought that it was crazy, this room we had to work in. We thought it was nuts. We thought a great injustice was being done to us, have to cram into this office. And I realized that it was precisely those difficult working conditions that led to some of the best work of my life. And so maybe when all of us, when we're really challenged by our working conditions, we should recognize that maybe those are the best times. I'd like to thank my wife, Jessica, my family and surrogate family are here out there somewhere, for their enthusiasm and patience over the past 20 years, for my overindulgence in professional work. My overindulgence and their support is, I guess one of the reasons I'm here tonight. But as Ed pointed out, that if you take too many flights, it puts a lot of strain on your family. And my wife has certainly always been there with me, and the rest of my family has always been there for me as a role model to think about how to do work that benefits others, to do so that work is something more than just benefiting yourself. I need to thank my professional family at the Young Achievers School where I work right now. I asked our music teacher, Kamani Lumsden, over there, sitting there, raise your hand, Kamani. I dragged him along, the poor guy, dragged him along on a Friday evening after a long, hard week to come up here to an award ceremony for me. And, I felt it really important that I have some representation from our staff, because the people that I work with just do incredible work. And he and I have been together for a long time, ever since I've been working with the Young Achievers School. He led drumming workshops for us at Co-Seed Institutes when we held them up at Crawford Notch years ago when I was still working for Antioch. He and I have worked together to plan social justice assemblies. We've been camping with kids in the Boston Harbor Islands. And he really embodies the spirit and hard work of our staff. And teaching, and many of you know this, teaching under the best of conditions is an almost impossible job. Teaching in a building that really hasn't been updated since the time of this character right here. In fact, that's what our walls look like right there. His complexion. It's teaching in a building like that, with 600 brilliant minds that come from really challenging backgrounds and circumstances. The work that our teachers do is monumental there. There's no easy days at our school, but almost every day our staff are winning victories for humanity, and it's humbling to walk around the school and see that. And finally, I thank so many of you from my Antioch family that came to Antioch in 1994 with this vision of mine to learn how to design a strategy for hands-on environmental education, to be a vehicle for education reform. I wanted education reform that empowers kids to follow their own curiosity and inquiry, to be in charge of their own learning. This was my Antioch inquiry to how to do this. And as a staff, all of you that work for Antioch guide students every day to build their own vision for humanity, just like all the teachers at Antioch and all the staff did for me. What a job you have to do. It's huge. Currently, I'm now embroiled in the day-to-day operation of an urban school. I'm there because of the way Antioch made me think. Back in the old days, Jim Craiglow over there, he used to remind all of us that it really wasn't about the formal curriculum at Antioch. It was about the staff and the teachers and the students and the community that all came together. The conversations that we all had about, to have a thoughtful approach to addressing issues of social justice, progressive education, environmental sustainability, and social emotional wellness. That's the true gift that Antioch does, is bringing all these people together. At the school now where I work, realizing our vision of a high-quality education for Black and Latino youth, grounded in math and science, social justice, depends on access to the practitioners and professionals trained through the 4 core programs that are here at Antioch right now. These programs define the 4 social justice victories I think old Horace would want us to win today. So social justice victory number 1, that I think, I put some words in your mouth, I hope you don't mind there. But, social justice victory number 1, double the funding for public schools. It sounds crazy, but he did it as the Secretary of Education for Massachusetts. If college prep schools find it's necessary to spend $30,000 to get kids into Harvard, can't we double the $7,500 per pupil we get to get our kids out of poverty and into a successful life? That's a social justice victory we can win, we can work on together. Train a cadre of organizational and management leaders prepared to manage the complex systems for achieving an innovative education. When resources appear for schools, it's via a complex web of state and federal grants. Moving the ever-changing resources and associated staff forward in unison. You know what? I have to put my glasses on. Sorry. I can't read this anymore. Moving the ever-changing resources and associated staff forward in unison is building a card tower. It's like building a card tower in a hurricane. It takes skilled leaders to keep that card tower intact. Social justice victory number 3. A renewed focus on mental health and wellness for our kids. Horace built the state lunatic asylum. Today, I believe he would say the place of greatest return is our high poverty schools, where the needs are intense. If we don't do this, it becomes almost impossible to close achievement gaps. And in Horace's words, abolish ignorance, crime, and misery. Social justice victory number 4. Close the achievement gap by closing the opportunity gap. The trips all of us here in this room, take with our families to parks, museums, beaches, libraries. It's how our children, our kids, build and make meaning of the world. Too many kids at my school don't have that opportunity. They don't have enough of those experiences. They come to us unprepared to draw upon those experiences to make meaning out of the world. Antioch's environmental studies and education programs provide practitioners the skills to deliver hands-on, place-based, experiential, and environmental learning adventures. This is the pedagogy that provides kids with the necessary experiences to make sense of the world. Mann said, science invests us with a sort of creative power. We need to design schools that provide kids with the opportunity to ask questions, follow their own inquiry, and be in charge of their own learning. For the kids at my school, a career in math and sciences is perhaps their best path out of poverty, not sports. The spark to pursue science begins with finding beetles on the rocks at nearby Boston Nature Center. It grows to a flame when complex math skills are used to build a rowboat. The flame brightens when the student uses his or her rowboat to collect scientific data out in Boston Harbor. And the fire rages when an audience of adult scientists challenge kid scientists to discuss their data, comparing the ecology of the Boston Harbor Islands to the nearby Boston Nature Center. A place like Antioch develops the practitioner leaders we need to establish that path for our kids. Thank you to all of you for showing me that path.
Again, congratulations to our 2015 Horace Mann Service Awardees. You inspire me. You jump into your work head first without dallying in the shallows and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. We appreciate you. We admire you. We honor you. We love you. Thank you so much. We're drawing to a close. Last year's Horace Mann event raised funds sufficient to support 6 of this year's Antioch University New England students. All 6 are listed with brief bios in the program, and only 2 could be with us this evening. I want you to hear from both of them. First, Chad Saluzniak, Service, an MBA Sustainability student. From his November 2014 application for the scholarship, he said, "What matters in the end is that I did something to make the world a better place for future generations." He continued, "I, like Horace Mann, have a lifelong commitment to learning and also have a strong drive to incorporate sustainability to humanity and business practices." Chad is a student leader, bringing his great depth of life and professional experience to his graduate students. Chad.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. As a child and into my early teens, education didn't mean much to me, as many I think. It was just something to do while my parents went to work. That perspective changed when I was about 14 years old. At that time, my mother and I lost our apartment and became homeless for a period of time. We found refuge at a shelter in Muskegon, Michigan, where they assisted us in finding an apartment, finding a job for my mother, and getting a chance for my mother to get back to school and getting her GED. During that time, my mother seemed happier than any other point in her life and our life together. She was getting help, support, and there seemed to be a sense of hope for her future. Reflecting back on that now, I realized that what was important to me was the education itself, and I decided to then have a lifelong journey with education. As life went on, I was educated and became an interior designer, trying to help make people's homes a happier place. After time, this felt limited to me. I wanted to help in a bigger way. So I went back to education for more hope. In looking for an MBA in sustainability, I looked at programs and found that 5 in my region that looked interesting. So I did my research, visited most locations, and found that 3 of those universities said that they designed their program around Antioch's program. So the business major concept in me said, why would I go to there? But it also made me think that there was an innovation that Antioch must be providing, and that if I want to be at the head of something, it would make sense to go to that school. Plus the program was a lot cheaper. So I looked at Antioch more, and I met with Karen and realized that there was something there that was different. And I think that your program and your staff and your faculty, they see something, and I think they see that we're looking for something. Anyway, so earlier this year, my mother passed away. And around the same time as when I received this Horace Mann scholarship, through her passing and the opportunity of this education, my sense of hope has been enhanced to a sense of enlightenment. I am so honored to have received this scholarship and hope that I will be able to make a difference like these honorees. And I would really like to thank my husband, Tim, for going through this crazy journey with me. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Are you out there? Then I won't introduce Clay Lasher Summer. She is another one of the recipients. Seriously, Clay, don't hide from me. Although you haven't met her, Clay and Chad both are absolutely remarkable exemplars of Antioch University, New England. I want to thank, I want to thank all of you for helping to create the conditions for Chad and for Clay to discover and make visible all the beauty, the inspiration, and the magic within. They, again, are exemplars. They will, in fact, harness the power and the passion of that self-discovery in service to a better tomorrow. The world needs them, and the other four Horace Mann Scholarship recipients, the world needs them now. In closing, I have been instructed by Cindy Rodenhauser-Story, who made this evening possible and helped enable all of this. A round of applause for Cindy. I want to thank again all of you for helping us honor these three wonderful recipients. Thank you for supporting the Horace Mann Scholarship Program. Thank you for believing in us. Your words and your actions mean so much. So now, please enjoy the food, the fellowship, and the celebration. Thank you.